Hold it up, Atlantic. I see you starting to heat up, but let's turn our attention to the Pacific for just a quick second. I'm MWG, and let's get into this tropical update where we have Fabio, and yes, Fabio with the hair, the comical TV character. We have Fabio out in the Pacific, and like I said about like a week ago, I wanted to see Fabio form, or what was early Fabio, which was Invest 97L. I wanted to see Invest 97L's potential because I knew it was just going to be a fish storm, and I wanted to see its satellite imagery because I love looking at hurricanes. That's just my obsession. So here we are looking at around just the max potential of Hurricane Fabio at around 110 miles per hour, that which makes it at category 2 status. So it didn't make it the major hurricane, but close enough. And since it didn't make its hurricane status, it's not going to have that big, bulky, cleared out eye. It has a little half eye. It's kind of wobbling itself around the circulation center, but it's not really defined that well. But nonetheless, I'm still appreciating it because it's a category 2 hurricane out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so it's not going to affect anybody other than the fish. And the good news about the Pacific in the next couple weeks, or the bad news if you like the tropical chaos in June, well, nothing's expected to form within the next 5 days, and I'll probably extend that to 1 to 2 weeks. And Fabio right now has already reached its max potential. It's soon gonna hit those chilly waters of the Pacific, and you know that spells trouble for any hurricane. And then when we go to the Atlantic, in the last video we had nothing, but all of a sudden in 2 days the Atlantic has completely transformed, and there's kind of 3 areas we're looking at right now, but all of them they're pretty weak. And the first area that we're just glancing over is in the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico, just below the Louisiana coastline, and it's just this area of unorganized thunderstorms that could potentially make a broad low and then into a tropical depression, but right now it's not looking likely at all. The models don't pick up this little disturbance at all. The water temperatures are just alright, and the main factor for this not developing is the wind shear. The wind shear is just not good for conducive development. So that number 1 area to watch isn't going to form. How about number 2? And number 2 is also on the likely side to not form, but it has around a 30% chance within the next 5 days and just a 10% within the next 48 hours. Disturbance 2 is just another area of disorganized thunderstorms about just some 100 miles south of the Bermuda Little Island right there out in the middle of the Atlantic. This system, if it were to form, just saying the models aren't picking this up at all, just a 30% chance to form within the next 5 days, it would most likely become subtropical because it's going to interact with a frontal system, and that makes it subtropical. But yet again, this is just a storm for the fish, not affecting anyone. And this last disturbance is a tropical wave off of Africa. Yes, we're looking at tropical waves starting now, showing just a little signs of the hurricane season starting to ramp its way up into August and September. But right now, the tropical wave isn't even watched by the National Hurricane Center. Well, about the National Hurricane Center watching it, just a couple hours after I posted this video, the National Hurricane Center is now watching the system, kind of calling Invest 95L, giving it a 50% chance to form within the next 48 hours. But back to the video, which means it has a 0% chance to form within the next 5 days, but we're still looking at it because it looks like a pretty well tropical wave off of Africa, but it could just disintegrate over its trek across the Atlantic Ocean. But just something watched, because both the GFS and the European model aren't picking up all of those 3 disturbances that I just mentioned at all, so most likely none of these are going to form, but we just have to watch them. And one last thing talking about the tropical Atlantic is that the water temperatures for the Atlantic Ocean are kind of heating up in the past week. It's been an overall downtrend, or we've been in the negative for this whole hurricane season, below average. But if this short-term trend of warming up the waters, then we could possibly have a much more interesting August and September than we have been so far. But thank you to all my subscribers for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one for another tropical update.